Hey everybody, welcome to 2017. I hope you all had a good holiday season. I really enjoyed mine back in Canada with my family and my partner, and I was really reluctant to get back to work here down in the East Midlands, but I'm back. I'm sorry that I took a little bit longer than I said I would to do this video, but I kind of got back to work and died through a combination of jet lag and new bed, not being able to sleep and all that. So I'm going to try and do a couple more videos this month for you. Today I'm going to talk about visas and working in the UK with a visa, what kind of visa you need to get, all that stuff, because I know a lot of people probably are wondering how I'm working in the UK when I'm clearly a Canadian and what kind of visa I'm on. So today I'm just going to kind of do an overview of the kinds of visas you can get, whether or not you need one, and then I'll tell you my personal story of my situation, which is a bit kind of unique, I guess. First thing you kind of have to ask yourself if you're thinking about coming to work in the UK or any country that's not where you live is whether or not you need a visa in order to work there. With the UK or anywhere else in Europe, if you are a member of the European Union, the answer is no, you don't need a visa. Essentially, all you have to do is book a plane ticket, pack up your stuff and go. I would advise getting a job before you do that. Some of the people on the team that I'm currently working on are all from Spain, and they came over just for this job. They all have a pretty good command of English already before they got here, and they applied and were accepted for the job before they even moved here. Archaeology in the UK tends to have a lot of foreigners working in it, so there's quite a few people from Spain, Italy, Poland, all over the European Union. If you are a citizen of a country that is not a member of the European Union, you will need a visa to work in the UK in general. Specifically, you will need one to work in archaeology. There's a couple different ways to kind of go about it, I guess. Student visa, but it's going to have some restrictions on it. So for example, my master's one, I could only work 20 hours a week during term time, but I could work full time during like the summer when you're supposed to be writing your dissertation. So obviously part-time work, you're not really going to get anything in archaeology. So during the semester, you're going to be SOL. And if you can manage to write a dissertation and work full-time at the same time, more power to you. That's an option for you during the summer. As well, my master's visa also had an extra 3 months at the end after my year, so that in theory it provides you with time to try and find a job in the UK. However, 3 months isn't a very long time, and as I have mentioned in some previous videos, it took me about 5 months to get hired, so that wouldn't have worked for me. I'm not sure what it's like with PhD or undergrad visas. Unfortunately, it's not going to be possible for you to become a commercial archaeologist in the UK using a typical tier 2, I think it is, just like work visa. Which is probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. There's a variety of reasons for this. One of which is that these types of visas will require you to have a minimum income, and it's over £20,000 a year, and as an archaeologist your starting salary is usually something more around £17,000 a year, so you're not going to qualify for the minimum salary. Additionally, the company that's hiring you needs to be an official sponsor through like the UK border agency. And in order to become a sponsor, you have to fill out all these qualifications and paperwork and checks, and it also costs you money in order to become a sponsor. So generally the only companies that tend to become sponsors in the UK are very big multinational ones, because everyone else can usually just find workers from within the European Union, and they don't have an incentive in order to become a sponsor for work visas. Since you can't get a work visa, usually you have to be a little bit more creative in how to work in the UK. And if you're not going to school and you just want to work, you have to try and find another way to get around things. One solution for this, which I took advantage of, is a visa that is available to members of the Commonwealth. So, and a variety of other countries, which is Australia, Canada, Japan, Monaco, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and Korea. So any of these countries can apply for this visa. It's called a Tier 5 Youth Mobility Visa. So what that means is it's essentially, I think I've heard people describe it as a working holiday. So it's designed to let you come and work in the UK for a set period of time, after which you kind of, in theory, you need to leave uh, and go find a job elsewhere, but it allows you to get some international experience in your field. So for this UK one, the duration of it is 2 years. And the requirements for it are that you need to be between 18 and 30 years old, and you need to have £1,890 in your bank account at the time of your application. Essentially, the idea of this is that you have enough money to kind of set yourself up when you move over to the UK. You aren't able to access benefits, so it's not like you can just move over here and then claim unemployment. It doesn't work like that. You need to be able to draw on your own source of income in order to pay for things. You're not a citizen. The process for this is fairly easy. You just have to find an office, fill out all the paperwork, which takes a little while, but it's worth doing if you really want to come live here. Some people will also use this and come here for 2 years, and then maybe sometimes during that time they'll find somebody that they want to share their lives with, and then they end up getting married or living together, becoming a partner, and then they'll go entering the UK through like a partner. However, there are restrictions on that in terms of how much money your partner needs to be making. If you happen to be like myself and you're from a like new world country like Canada or the US with a European background, I would highly recommend, before investing in visas and all that stuff, into looking into your European background to see if you will be able to qualify for a European passport. So I know that there also used to be a UK visa that's like an ancestry visa that allows you to be here for, I think it's about 5 years if you have British grandparents, and I have at least one friend I know that's lived here using that visa. So if you've got British grandparents or just European grandparents in general, look into it and see if you might be able to qualify to get a European passport, because in that way you can skip the entire visa process, and just because you're an EU citizen, just move, essentially. The way that I went about coming and living in the UK was, I knew that I wanted to do my master's program here for a variety of reasons over Canada. I picked the University of Edinburgh, and I applied for a student master's visa, which is a year and 3 months essentially. I moved to the UK and I did my year of my master's. I didn't work during it because I was too busy at school, and then I entered the workforce the September after I moved here, which again, I didn't find an archaeology job right away. I was waitressing and working as a temp receptionist for a lot longer than I would have liked to. But I did find work eventually. So because my program ended in September, so I had until December and my visa ran out, that I had to move out of the country. So I did some research and talked to a couple other people that had, been here before me from Canada and managed to stay. And I was recommended this Tier 5 youth mobility visa. So the way that I worked it is I was going home for Christmas for a couple weeks to visit my family. So I flew into Toronto. I booked my appointment for this Tier 5 visa application, which you have to go to an official office and fill out and all that stuff. The day after I flew into Toronto, because the office was in Toronto, and then I got up and went to the appointment and filled everything out the day after I arrived, and then paid some extra money in order to get it essentially fast-tracked and then delivered back to me as fast as possible, with the hope that everything would be accepted and I'd have a passport again when I was going to leave the country to go back to the UK. And luckily for me, everything worked out perfectly. I got my passport, I think like a week before I actually left to go back, and then lived for the next little while on my new youth mobility visa, which gave me an extra 2 years to kind of figure everything out. Just after I got back, I was again working as a temp receptionist, and all you do is answer phones. So I was kind of trying to do some research. I'd heard about some people that were from like the US or Canada, but then managed to get a passport for a European country. And myself, my grandparents on my mom's side are German immigrants to Canada. So I spent some time researching, and I essentially found out that I qualified to get a German passport, a Reisepass. The way that this worked out was that my grandparents moved to Canada and had a space of 5 years where they could work and live there, but they weren't citizens yet, and they were still citizens of Germany. So during this time, and at the end of this 5 years, they would then be able to become Canadian citizens, at which time they renounced their German citizenship, because people don't like you to collect passports. And so it was during this kind of waiting period that my mother was born. And because of these circumstances, she's born in Canada, which means that she is automatically a Canadian citizen. However, at the time, she was born to a pair of German citizens. So she actually inherited their citizenship at her birth. She never actually did anything with it. And we didn't really find this out until I was looking into the matter myself. So I then, because of the way the laws work, inherited the German citizenship from her. And the way we went about it was we collected all the birth certificates and all these other things from my grandparents and my mom and myself. You have to get your like long form birth certificate from the government. And my mom went and got her German passport, because it's not like you have to apply to be a citizen. You are a citizen. You just have to essentially have to prove it in order to get a passport. So she went and she got her passport first. And then about 6 months later, after everything got sorted out, I went and I got mine. And then this past year, I went and left on a small weekend vacation to somewhere in Europe. And when I came back, I entered back into the UK on my German passport. So I'm no longer using my Canadian visa, which would have expired just this past December. And I'm now living here as a European citizen, even though I don't speak like barely any German. So it's a bit of a I don't know, a cheaty loophole, but it's really worked out for me, and I know a lot of people who it's also worked out for. So, generally, if you're wanting to make your life here, your choices are to either somehow find a way as an archaeologist, because you can't get like a work visa, you either have to become some kind of European citizen, or find the love of your life, which is not exactly probably what some people want to hear, but unfortunately it's just not a highly skilled profession where they're trying to attract people from outside of the European Union to come here and do this, like, a doctor, a nurse, or a teacher. A lot of people like to ask me what's going to happen to me when the UK leaves the European Union. Personally, I'm waiting for the actual thing to happen, but I'm not really that concerned, because the way I look at it, it's going to be really difficult and expensive for the government to round everybody up and kick them out of the country, forcibly deporting like a very sizable chunk of their workforce. I hope that's answered any questions people have had about visas and how have somehow managed to live here. I hope that this video has been at least a little bit helpful for anyone. As per usual, I'm sure people always have lots of questions about things, and I do get asked a lot about how I'm American or Canadian and I managed to live here in the UK and work a job where I'm making less than £20,000 a year and I don't have a work visa. So yeah, hopefully I've maybe helped out a couple people and given you some ideas of how you can proceed into immigrating to the UK. If you like this video, please comment or like or subscribe. My Twitter is down below as well, and I've got some really interesting things planned for this year. Hopefully I'll actually be able to do them. Working a full-time job and then trying to manage this can be a bit crazy sometimes, but yeah, I'm really grateful to everybody that's watched so far. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again. Bye!